Hello, dear friends. Good afternoon. I am Sagar Goyal. Welcome you all to this tech webinar series. This is day 4. First of all, I personally thank you for joining this technical webinar series in such a large number. So now it is already 156 members are there. As this is a knowledge sharing webinar, we try to cover some of the most important topics as we have already done in our last webinars. We would like to give your comments and feedback by the way of messages or mail to us at info@ipcaonline.com or on my personal email, that is president@ipca.com. I would like to give a brief introduction about Indian Paint and Coating Association, IPCA. It has a pan-India presence with 10 regions: Delhi, Maharashtra, UP, MP, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Gujarat, Andhra, Telangana, Agra and Kerala. We are 1,500 members, strong and growing. IPCA has been in the forefront of organizing path-breaking events benefiting the paint and coating industry like KSS, IPCA Connect Cluster programs, regional residential conferences, mega biennials, technical workshops with certification courses in coating technology, cooperation with IIT Delhi, Color Society Mumbai, IICT Hyderabad. As I said yesterday also, that how the COVID is going to change our business and our way of thinking in future after the lockdown period to be over. We have to face new challenges. These challenges may differ from business to business. These challenges will greatly financially, and to some extent it will how to improve ourselves on technical front to improve our capabilities by introducing new products to the market at reasonable prices. Yesterday, we discussed on the topic of polyol for polyurethane coatings by Cardolite Corporation, USA. Today's topic of technical webinar is wetting and dispersing and surface additives by BYK Additives. Today's speaker are Mr. Dattarai ji and Adesh Malakal. Mr. Dattarai ji has a very rich experience of 25 years in can, coil, industrial and decorative applications. He is associated with BYK since 2007 and responsible for industrial, coil, decorative, protective coating business in India and Indian subcontinent. And Mr. Adesh Malakal, he is the end use manager. He has a 21 years of experience in the coating industry. He has done his postgraduate diploma in technical and analytical chemistry from Mumbai University. He has worked in Asian Paint, Pidilite, and representing BYK since 2007. So now the ball rolls to Mr. Dattarai ji and Mr. Adesh. And I also request to the other participant to please go on mute to have a very good presentation from both of the speakers. So please, Mr. Dattarai ji and Adesh ji, I hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sagar ji. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to present our product, our technology in front of our customers, privileged customers. Myself and Adesh will going to speak on two topics. as Sagar sir said, wetting and dispersing and surface. My colleague Adesh is little bit struggling in connection. So may I request to start surface additives first with your permission, sir.
Please, sir.
Mahadevan sir
Please,
and Sagar sir. So we start with surface additives first. Abhijit,
please, please, sir.
Abhijit, can we start surface, please? So,
Mr. Dattarai, can you please put your mic near to you so we can hear better?
okay.
Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah, thank you. Once again, good afternoon. Warm welcome from our side, from VYK side, to all our guests and IPCA president and committee members. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity. So today we'll cover two topics, basically surface additives and W&D. Can you please mute please? So first topic I will be covering on surface additives. Basically, what are the challenges in paint film formation, line leveling, and some defects and how to eliminate that, which includes technology about silicones and acrylates. So Abhijit, next slide, please. So we'll cover in half an hour about theory and flow of leveling additives. What is meant by surface tension? What surface tension makes an important role in film formation, flow and leveling. Then we'll have two topics, as I said, silicone. What is the chemistry? What is the working mechanism? Then we move to acrylates. What is the importance of acrylates? How they give better gloss and DOI in coating system. And then some discussion on surface defects and their elimination. Next, please. So we always talk surface tension, but to define the surface tension, we can say molecules in liquid have relatively high in mobility. They always high mobility, and there are in between the molecule there are the cohesive forces exist. The higher the cohesive forces are there, the surface tension will be high. So in case of water, cohesive forces are very much strong, you can say. So surface tension of water is about 73 millimeter per meter, whereas hydrocarbons, the cohesive forces are comparatively weak, and the surface tension counts around 23 millimeter per meter. So this is the surface tension is nothing but the cohesive forces between the molecules. So objectives when formatting the coatings, what are the main objectives with respect to the film formation and appearance? That means we need excellent flow and leveling. We need sufficient substrate wetting or perfect substrate wetting, perfect film formation, and we want our paint film should be without any defect like craters or seizing or popping. And all these three parameters are directly related to the surface tension of your coatings. So we have to always take care that surface tension of our coating should be equal or less than the substrate, and organically modified silicones and acrylates. These are the two groups influence the surface tension in such a way that you can improve the properties of your coating towards excellent flow, no craters, no seizing, and perfect film formation. Next slide, please, Adi. When we go to slide number 6, the substrate wetting, the very much thumb rule or principle is that, next click please, surface tension of your coating should be equal or less than the substrate. If the surface tension of your paint is higher than the substrate, then you are bound to get a poor substrate rating. Means film is not uniformly formed, and you will see it's like film is like cracking, or you can say it's like leaving the substrate uncovered. So when this kind of phenomenon is there, we are very sure that surface tension needs to be adjusted equal to substrate or below the substrate. Next slide, please. Here we can demonstrate clearly by addition of a silicone additive in the same paint formula, you can definitely get a better substrate wetting. So this video demonstration is with and without silicone additive, that is 0.1% of BYK 333, which is silicone additive, and one side we don't have added any silicone additive. So what does silicone does? Silicone reduces the surface tension of your paint film below the surface tension of your substrate, and hence there is a uniform film formation. This is the function of silicone additive in the paint formulation. Next slide, please. Substrate wetting also depends on the dosage level of the silicone additive you are using. So we always request our customer that at any point of time, please evaluate any additive at two different dosage level, like 0.45 or 0.1%. Probably little bit higher dosage of the same additive can help you to improve your surface defects. And then you can really optimize whether I can go for 0.07 or 0.08 or 0.1 is good enough for me to get a rid of my surface defects. Next, please. Then we go to the typical surface tension values. The relation of this surface tension values is very much related to our formulating the paint formulations. With respect to solvents, water is always the very high surface tension, like 72 millimeters per meter, whereas xylene and white spirit are comparatively low. In case of resins, alkyds and acrylics, those are very low in surface tension compared to aqueous and melamine resins. And in case of substrate, the surface energy of phosphated steel is much higher than the plastic substrate like SMC polyester and other plastic parts. What does this indicate? When we are formulating the paint for bumpers or for plastic part, the substrate surface energy is already very low, and then you cannot put your regular coating on the plastic part. So you will face the problem of adhesion failure if you are applying for the SMC polyester or plastic parts. In this case, we have to use a adhesion promoting primer, which is based on fluoroolefin, and this is very known in the industry because it has a very low surface tension compared to plastic. Next slide, please. So with respect to flow and leveling, in general, if you can say there are two types of coating systems popular in the industry, like high solid coatings, epoxy or high build protective coatings, and refinish systems or industrial coatings are roughly medium solid systems like 50 or 55% of a solid content. When we apply high solid coatings, initially they look like a wavy in the first picture, but with small addition of leveling additive and the self-leveling property of epoxy resin, after drying you get a perfect leveling of your coating system. But where in case of a medium solid systems like refinish or industrial coatings, in the wet condition film looks like a fantastic, like a perfect leveling, excellent gloss, but during the drying, formation of waviness or poor leveling in the film. And here we need to add silicone additives to reduce the surface tension or to make the surface tension at the time of during. It maintains the surface tension the same level, and hence we get a perfect flow and leveling in medium solid coating systems as well. Next, please. There is a classical information about the crater formation. How does crater forms? There is a substrate which is in blue color of 32 milliNewton per meter is the surface energy of that substrate, and we apply paint on that paint film itself is 30 millimeter per meter, and it gives excellent film formation. When a paint droplet or dirt comes on the film with low surface tension, it immediately forms a crater. Abhijit, do 2 clicks please. Because when this droplet comes, already droplet doesn't have any solvent and surface tension is already went down by 2 units, and it makes a hell of a difference, and we get a crater formation. So if our silicone additive is in the paint formula itself, then droplet surface tension and paint film surface tension will be same, and there won't be any crater formation while applying the film on the substrate. Next slide, please. What are the difference between solvent-borne and aqueous systems? Basically, like solvent-borne systems are relatively low in surface tension because all the solvents used in the system are comparatively low in surface tension compared to the aqueous system where water as itself has a very high surface tension. Then what are the problems in case of solvent-borne? Like uneven surface, some crater formation, poor leveling at low film thickness, and in case of aqueous system, it's always a poor substrate wetting because of very high surface tension, and crater formation is also a problem, boiling marks, and foam stabilization because of silicone surfactants. Then what is the need of additives in case of solvent-borne? Abhijit, next 2 clicks. In case of solvent-borne system, additives are required for fine-tuning your formula. Fine-tuning the formula and get better and leveling and loss. But in case of water-borne system, additives are absolutely needed. You need to have silicone additive to reduce the surface tension of water to get a better film formation without any problem. So additives are absolutely needed for aqueous system, whereas additives are required for fine tuning in case of solvent-borne coatings. Next slide, please. What are the other factors that influence the flow and leveling in your coating system, in our coating systems? First and foremost is a rheology. Rheology always depends on the what is the pigmentation level, what kind of wetting and dispersing additive we are using in for dispersing the pigmentation. So by using deflocculating wetting and dispersing additive, high molecular deflocculating wetting and dispersing additive, you always get a perfect dispersion with a Newtonian flow, because deflocculating wetting and dispersing additive doesn't develop any thixotropy in your base, and hence indirectly helps for better leveling. Then another factor is the evaporation rate of solvents. The time of solvent evaporates from the system. So we always make a balance that our system should contain some slow evaporating as well as fast evaporating solvents, so that we get a maximum time for the resin to get better and flow and leveling. And third and for very important is the surface tension. So surface additives are used to avoid the surface tension differences and hence get perfect flow and leveling without any film defects. Next, please. So surface defects cause basically is between substrate and coating, or is called substrate wetting. Within the coating is because of contamination or solvent evaporation or spray dust. And when surface tension differences are very less, or we can say very minor, then acrylates may help us to improve the flow and leveling. But when the surface tension differences are very high, very large, then there is no chance. We have to go for a silicone additives. Next, please. Abhijit, next, please. So we go to the chemistry of polydimethyl siloxanes, and 2 clicks. So silicone additives, if you say these are polydimethyl siloxanes. So yes, OSIO and 2 methyl groups are there, and depending on the number of repetition group of this dimethyl linkage, the performance of the silicone molecule changes in the coating system. So behavior of every silicone molecule changes as per the molecular weight, or you can say repetition group of the methyl linkage in the molecule. So if you say low molecular weight silicones are more compatible and are basically used for leveling, whereas you can say a little bit higher is always good for slip and mar resistance, anti-seizing, anti-cratering, and slightly another quite high molecular weight silicone additives are used for defoaming, as molecule becomes from compatible to incompatible as the molecular weight is increasing. So as molecule is very incompatible, it acts like a defoamer. The most popular defoamer from BYK side is like BYK 0610 or BYK 141, which are running successfully in refinish and industrial coatings. Whereas high molecular weight polydimethyl siloxanes, PDMS, is basically used for hammer and finish, but as a BYK, we don't deal those products in the industry. Next slide, please. We don't sell pure polydimethyl siloxane in the market, but we do some organic modification in the molecule. So 1 methyl linkage is being replaced with either polyether, aralkyl, polyester, or reactive. And each modification has a different functionality in the coating system. And at the same time, we have another modification we do, which is alkyl or methyl alkyl, ethyl methyl. So by doing this modification, second modification, we can define whether your silicone molecule is very strong in surface interaction or very mild, or whether we can use for solvent bond or we can use for water bond system. And if you see, most of the silicone additives are polyether modified silicones like BYK 300, BYK 306. And when you go to aralkyl and polyester modified silicone, those are used for heat stable coatings. Those are used for heat stable coatings, while reactive has a different functionality, which we'll cover in the next slides. Next slide, please. How to measure the surface tension? So another click. If you want to measure the surface tension in the liquid stage, we have a dynamometer, or we can say we have a ring detachment method. That instrument which we have in our lab in Pune, BYK lab, and this lab is only for our customers to serve. If anybody, if our customer wish to measure the surface tension of liquid coating, we can definitely support with very happily. We can support those customers, and we can check the surface tension of sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, and we can define which is good one, and you can correlate the problems which you are facing on the line or in the field of application. And if you want to use the surface, if you want to measure the surface energy of dry film, then there is a way.
Taraji, sorry to interrupt you. Your voice, please bring your mic near to you. your mouth, so we
This is
can.
very near.
It
Okay,
is good.
okay, sir.
Yeah, now it's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when we want to measure the surface energy of dry film, always is in liquid we call it as a surface tension, and when it comes to the film formation or paint film, we call it as a surface energy. When we want to measure the surface energy of any paint film, then contact angle is the best method to measure the surface energy of the paint film. And there are also in the market there are ink pens. By using that ink pens also you can measure the surface energy of the dry paint film. So these are the two methods to measure the surface tension as well as surface energy of the your coating. Next slide, please. But this contact angle measurement we don't have in our Pune lab, but definitely we can do. We have this instrument in our Germany lab. We can do for you if you wish to measure the surface energy as well. Next is, as I told, silicone additives are known to reduce the surface tension and increase the slip at the same time. So we have a very classical video demonstration where there are two panels. Backside panel is without silicone and front side panel is with silicone. And you see 500-gram weight is been put, and the angle of the panel, highest is the angle, you can say lowest is the slip. And if you see the front panel with a little angle, which is already slipping from on the paint film. So this is a very indicative method. We can measure in our lab also with the coin or something like this on two panels and see at what angle coin slips over your paint film. Lesser is the angle, better is the slip, we can say. Next slide, please. There is an indication. There is a method of you can really quantify, which is a pull method. So 500-gram weight is being pulled by the machine, and the force required to pull that weight is being calculated in percentage increase of slip or decrease of slip. This instrument we have in our lab, which is made by Altec, and you can see the force required is already being indicated on the scale. The highest is the force, lower is the slip. Lowest is the force, better is the slip. It's very simple, and we can really quantify how much slip increase or decrease in your paint film by using the silicone additives. Next slide, please. As we know, as all the people in the industry know, we have a basket of products for silicone additives, and then it's very difficult to select which product I should go for it. If you want to have better substrate wetting, anti-cratering, and surface slip has to be high, then our best suggestion is BYK 333, which has a very strong surface tension reduction, which is shown in the dark blue graph. And then if you want to have just leveling and little bit surface tension reduction is BYK 320. So all the floor coating formulations, if you can see, floor coating, you don't want any slip, but you want a perfect flow and leveling and substrate wetting, little bit surface tension reduction. In that case, the first choice for our customer is BYK 320 for floor coating. But in case of refinish or industrial coatings or then there is a requirement of slip and mar, anti-cratering, anti-seizing, and perfect slip. Then our choice goes to BYK 333. Yeah, and there are certain products. Then it varies from the molecule to molecule and chemistry to chemistry. Next slide, please. This is the exact replica of the first slide. So percentage slip increase. So higher slip if you want, then you have to go for BYK 333. And we have latest molecule addition to the product, our product portfolio, that is BYK 3760, which is the latest, very latest one, just 1 year before we launched this product, and it's very new for the industry. This is the product much better than BYK 333, as well as the to get better surface tension reduction and perfect anti-seizing, anti-cratering with better slip with low foam stabilization. So I will suggest my customer or everybody, if you have some issues, you are still not happy with the 333, then we have a product like BYK 3760 for you to test in your system. Next slide, please. Silicone mobility. By nature, silicones are very mobile in nature. The silicone molecule goes to the substrate as well as it goes to the interface here. So both sides silicone molecule moves. And when baking schedule goes up to about 140 degrees C, next 2 clicks, please, Abhijit. Then silicone molecule has to go on the top surface. But if silicone molecules remains within the two films, then you will lose the intercoat adhesion. And why does it happen? Because when the baking schedule goes above 150 degrees C, our regular silicone, which are polyether modified silicones, the polyether linkage in that molecule gets decomposed, and that silicon molecule lose the mobility, and hence it remains between two films, and we lose the intercoat adhesion. In that case, our suggestion to our customer is go for thermally stable grades, which are BYK 310, BYK 313, or 315 as per your selection. Those products are thermally stable up to 240 degrees C, and hence there are no chance that you will lose the intercoat adhesion. Next slide, please. Also, intercoat adhesion has two approaches. First is influence on the dosage level of silicone and influence on the baking temperature. As we saw in the first slide, if baking temperature is below 150 degrees C, regular silicones will help. If silicone baking temperature goes above 150 degrees C, go for thermally stable silicones, which are polyester modified silicones, and those polyester linkages are very temperature stable up to 240 degrees C. And silicone dosage also, we also request our customers that silicones are as good as very good for at low dosage level, but sometimes if you overdose the silicones, then there are chances that you will have issues with intercoat adhesion. So be careful when you are increasing the dosage of silicone level, dosage of silicones in your formulations. Next slide, please. Yeah, so which are thermal stable grades? Like Aralkil and polyester modified polydimethyl siloxanes are thermally stable. Those are like BYK 310, BYK 313, which is coming in the next slide, please. Next slide, Abhijit. So this is the overview of all silicone additives, and you may keep a single slide on your desktop or on your table that which silicone additive I should use for my system. So all the products marked with a star, red star, those products are thermally stable. That means you can use in your high baking systems without any problem of intercoat adhesion. If you want to use only for solid mode systems, then either you go for star with red rectangle or only red rectangle. Those products are mainly suitable for solid mode systems. Products marked with the blue circle, those are universal products like you can use for solvent bond as well as water bond systems. But those products are not thermally stable. So up to 140 degrees C or for all your air drying systems, those products are excellent products for surface tension reduction and increasing sleep and mar and no seizing, no cratering. So BYK 3760, which is sitting on the top of this graph, this is the highest, strongest surface tension reduction product from our side, which gives perfect sleep and mar resistance, strong reduction in surface tension, and at the same time, no foam stabilization or very less foam stabilization. Yeah, and there are few products with rectangle in blue. Those are products little bit surface tension reduction along with defoaming and leveling. That is nothing but BYK 320, which is very popular additive for all flow coating customers. They can use it. Next slide, please. Now we go to the waterborne technology. So all these silicone molecules are used in industrial coatings, and when we go to the waterborne, we need we use silicone surfactants. So silicone surfactant, if you see the chemistry, it is the same like polydimethyl siloxane modified with polyether, but only difference is those silicone surfactants are low molecular weight silicones. That means these are more compatible, and because of more compatible in the formulation, they are tend to generate little bit of foam. So silicone surfactants only goes to the substrate, and they don't orient to the surface, so they don't have any influence on sleep, but very good influence on substrate wetting, means very good film formation ability with this silicone surfactants. Next slide, please. In the market, people use fluorosurfactant, silicone surfactant, or silicone polymers. But the best part of fluorosurfactant is the surface tension reduction characteristics of the fluorosurfactant is very high. So they reduce the surface tension very drastically. But the limitation or the issue with the fluorosurfactant is that they tend to give those products are more compatible, and they tend to give more foam stabilization in the paint formulation. So compared to fluorosurfactant, silicone surfactant are much safer. They do reduce the surface tension quite good, but at the same time, they don't give any foam stabilization. And whereas silicone polymers, in case of waterborne system, though they are a little bit weak in surface tension reduction, at the same time, they don't give any foam stabilization as well. Next slide, please. So if you look at the foam percentage of foam volume in the form by using fluorosurfactant is very high compared to the silicone surfactant from our side like BYK 346 or BYK 348. If you are using 0.4% of a dosage level, still the foam formation is very low compared to the fluorosurfactant. This is the biggest advantage with silicone surfactants being used in a waterborne coatings. Next slide, please. This is the classical video demonstration with foam stabilization in diluted aqueous emulsions. There is a diluted aqueous emulsion. Start the video, and we have put silicone surfactant and fluorosurfactant, and one bottle is without. First bottle is with no surfactant inside, and we shake these three bottles in the same manner. And after a few minutes, we see the foam generation and foam stabilization in three cases. So in control, there is no foam, whereas in case of silicone and fluorosurfactant, you can say silicone has a little bit foam, but fluorosurfactant has a huge amount of foam formation as well as foam stabilization. That means you have to use a very strong defoamer, and maybe that defoamer can lead into the crater formation in the film as well. So this is the advantage with by using silicone surfactant. You are very safe in the waterborne coatings as well. So next slide, please. So what are the usage areas of silicone surfactants? Normally, if you see the waterborne formulations, there is a chances that for R&D paint formulator, they use organic co-solvents like glycols in the system. When your glycol content is 0 to 0.5, 0 to 5%, then you can definitely work with BYK 347 or 348. And as the percentage of organic co-solvent goes on increasing, you have to go for another silicone surfactants, which is nothing but 345 or 346. Next, 2 clicks, please. So 345 and 346 you can use when your glycol content is remains between 5 to 10% or something like. Then above 10%, you can use our regular silicone products like BYK 333 or BYK 307, which also can work a good role of substrate wetting and film formation when organic co-solvent content is a higher side. Next slide, please. We have a, as we saw, we have a, three types of silicones like polyether, polyester, which are regular and thermal stable, and we have reactive silicones. So BYK Silicline 3700 is a reactive silicone. Next 2 clicks, please, Abhijit. So this is a hydroxy functional silicone. Yeah. So it contains some hydroxyl groups in the molecule. And next 2 clicks, Abhijit. And silicone side chains, which are shown in a blue lines. Those are silicone side chains, which gives us a dust and dirt release properties, which is giving anti-dust and anti-gravity properties, while OH groups reacts with your binder system and which gives a long-term performance. The limit. Next slide, please. So by doing this, by using Silclean 3700, what kind of properties we are getting? We get a improved cleanability, we get water as well as oil repellency, increased surface slip, improved leveling, and improved anti-gravity properties. So there is one classical video demonstration. One side we have used Silclean 3700, and other side there is no Silclean 3700 in the molecule. And you can see if you want to write, you are not able to write on that side. And if somebody tries to write, it can be easily wiped out. This is the biggest advantage of this product. So this product can be used for your anti-dust fans, some interior applications like washing machine, refrigerators or wood coatings, interior for our house furnitures. The limitation of this product is this product has to be used in top coats, and that top coat cannot be recoatable, because by using this product, we have to use this product around 3 to 5%, and substrate becomes rich of silicone, and which is difficult to recoat. Second limitation we want to share with our customers that this product is for exterior stability, this product needs to be evaluated case to case. So these are the two limitations with this product. Otherwise, this product can make a magic in the industry. And at the moment, Orient fans marketing in the market in our industry with anti-dust fans, and this is the magic of Silclean product being used in their one of the products. Next slide, please. So just summarize 3 clicks, Abhijit. What are the silicones? Silicone additives are nothing but organically modified polysiliczones. So what are the organic modifications like polyester, polyether, or alkyl or reactive? And those molecules migrate to the interface to the air as well as interface to the substrate. That means silicon can go to the surface as well as go to the substrate. In case of all silicones except surfactants, they reduce the surface tension on both interfaces and we get a anti-cratering, anti-seizing and better flow and leveling. Another click. And silicon are known to increase the surface slip, give mar and scratch resistance. So this is the just summary of silicon additives. Now we move to the acrylates. Next slide, please. Now we are on slide number 34 with acrylate leveling additive. The difference between acrylates and silicones, the effect is that acrylates will not reduce any surface tension, or if they do a very little bit reduction in surface tension. They are responsible to prevent the local surface tension differences at the interface here, and the working mechanism of the acrylates are controlled incompatibility by variation in molecular weight and variation in polarity. So next slide explains us what is meant by controlled incompatibility. Next slide, please. So acrylic molecule has to be optimum compatible, or is a controlled incompatibility. That means molecule should not be too compatible or too incompatible. If it is too compatible, then acrylate will remain in your film and it will not orient to the surface, or it will not come on the surface, and you won't get any flow and leveling or gloss improvement. If it is too incompatible, then it will give gloss reduction at the same time or haziness. So product has to be little bit incompatible so that whole molecule orient on the surface and you get better leveling, and we get a improved gloss and improved image clarity by using acrylic additive in our formula. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah, when we look at the chemistry of acrylic leveling additives, it's very simple. Those are homopolymers or copolymers of block copolymers of acrylates and methacrylates. Very simple. It doesn't contain any silicone, and we do some modification in this case. So we do alkyl, polyester, polyether, all salt modification, as well as we can have a reactive groups attached to the acrylate copolymer as well. Next slide, please. This is a very simple selection chart, or you can say overview, as we saw in case of silicones. So acrylate leveling additives, the best selling or best popular grade is BYK 350 which is quite low in molecular weight, easy to mix in your system, and hence it gives perfect leveling, gloss, and image clarity in your all industrial refinish industrial coatings. Whereas BYK 354, which is sitting on the top of the table, is high in molecular weight, so it helps in leveling. At the same time, it helps in anti deforming property. Sorry, and is also help for deforming. There are two products marked with black star, which is BYK 392, is known for anti-popping in the industry, where your film surface dries very fast, and there is no chance for your solvents to come out of the system, and then you get a popping issue in the system. So in that case, BYK 392 helps to delay the surface drying property, and you get a popping free film formation by using 392. There is one more product, BYK 394, which is marked with a black dot, which is basically used for tape release properties. This is hydroxy functional acrylate. This is being used for most of the clear coats or top coats being used applied on helmet industry. After application, to protect the film, paint film, they are using a supplier are using a guard films, and those guard films is being sometimes sticks to the substrate and leaves the mark on the painted helmets. So by using 394, you get a better release properties for your guard films as well. Yeah, we move to the next slide, please. So just to summarize acrylates additives, acrylates are organically modified, slightly incompatible acrylic polymers. They migrate to the interface here, not to the substrate as in case of silicones. They do not reduce surface tension significantly, but eliminates local surface tension differences, and hence you get a perfect flow and leveling and image and gloss clarity. Yeah, next slide, please. When we compare acrylates with silicones, is coming on the next slide. What are the differences? So in case of surface tension reduction, silicones are known to reduce the surface tension of your coating system, depends on the molecule, maybe little bit or maybe very strong. But in case of acrylates, those are known to not reducing any surface tension, or in case they do, they do a very little surface tension reduction, except few products which are fluorinated acrylates. When in case of a surface slip, silicones are known to increase or known to give better slip in our formula, in our coating film, whereas acrylates, they don't have any influence on the surface slip. And in case of foam stabilization, all silicones may be low or high, they have a tendency to give possibly a little bit foam formation in our paint formula, whereas acrylates, they don't give any foam stabilization. At the same time, few products are known for giving defoaming properties in the paint formulation. Next slide, please. How to improve the surface properties then by knowing this? Yeah. Next, yeah. So if you want to improve the leveling, next click. So if you want to improve the leveling, it's basically minimize the surface tension, and second is proper rheology. So how to minimize the surface tension differences with polyacrylates, and which are the factors responsible for proper rheology is nothing but your deflocculating, wetting, and dispersing additive, which gives a Newtonian flow to your mill base, no thixotropy in the film, and helps for better leveling. For substrate wetting, next click please, is always we have to have very strong surface tension reduction, and in this case we have to use polysiloxanes, polydimethyl siloxanes, which is nothing but silicone additives to reduce this very strong surface tension reduction. In case of mechanical properties or mechanical surface protection, you can say we can go for a silica, or we can go for a wax particles if you want to have permanent protective layer in your paint film. But by using wax additives, you may have to lose a little bit of gloss, because wax, PE, PTFE wax are solid particles, and they tend to reduce the gloss by 2 to 3 units. If you are okay with that, maybe for top coats you can go for permanent protective layer. But if you don't want to lose any gloss, then their option remains is only nano silica or nano alumina. We have now nano silica with us. Next slide, please. So to just
sorry,
yes, one slide, please. Yeah.
Please finish your presentation and
yeah, last slide.
Okay. Sorry, please.
So best recommendation from our side, how to achieve the superior surface waviness or superior film. The best recommendation is always combination of silicone and with acrylates. Next 2 clicks, please, Abhijit. So silicones always use at a very low dosage level, like 0.1, 0.05 to 0.1%. Like anything you can choose, BYK 333, BYK 306 or 378, and plus acrylates normally 0.3 to 0.5%, which is nothing but BYK 350 or BYK 399. These are the best combination. Next click to Abhijit. These are the best combination or recommendation from our side to get a better film formation in case of a coating formulation. Thank you very much for the patientful listening, and maybe
thank you very much, sir. Thank you for
very informative, sir. Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, Mr. There is a question is coming from Rajendra Jaiswal ji. Mr. Rajendra, please go ahead.
Yeah. Dattaji,
Abhijit, next slide, please. Email. Just one moment, sir. Email address. Okay. Abhijit.
I will send the email address on the
next click.
Chat.
These are the email IDs. If you are, you can reach us to any time for any difficulty on the. Yeah, you may go for a question, please.
I'm also writing your emails on the chat also. So anybody wants to download it, they can get it from the chat box.
Okay. Yes, please.
Hello. Hello.
Unmute,
yeah,
please.
Yeah, I'm Deepak Maheshwari from Deva Paints, Ghaziabad. It was nice presentation done by you. Basically, I want to know about your nano silica particles,
okay,
which you have told in the second last slide.
Yes.
Can you please send me the details of this particular product?
Definitely, sir. We have 2 products in nano silica, nano BYK 3650 and 3652 for our application, and which gives a better scrub resistance. So
okay,
you won't get any scratches on the film.
We are paint and coating
manufacturer.
We are the paint and coating manufacturer in solvent base only, not in water base. So accordingly, you can send me the literature first. so that we
Okay.
can go through the literature, then we'll ask for the same.
Definitely. Will you please put an email, or you can give your email address to me? I can send all the
Yeah,
required
I've
information.
already shared my email ID
Thank you.
and mobile number both here in this platform. I think you can get from there. So please, I would request again to send me the nanosilica particles details.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mr. Gowda, this is Dr. Jaiswal from Uniform Synthetics.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Yeah,
Good afternoon,
yeah, you're talking about reactive silicone, like with hydroxyl group, right?
Correct.
That you're also recommending for epoxy composite application, like we are selling a lot of hardness for epoxy curing in
Uh-huh.
coating as well as composite systems.
Okay. This is
So
a reactive.
yeah, so this is recommended for epoxy based systems also.
Uh, to be very honest, we always deal with paint additives, but to my knowledge, we have one product for epoxy. We recommend to our epoxy coating manufacturers like Protective Coatings and Floor Coating people. That is
Yeah,
BYK
yeah, same thing,
Silicene
same thing.
3701.
No. I'm saying this silicone with hydroxyl. I'm saying
Yeah.
that.
We have two products.
Okay.
3700 is with hydroxy functional, and 3701 is with epoxy functionality in it. So that 3701 you can use it, but I can connect you to my composite team, which is led by Mr. Kalle and Amol. They will
Okay.
also guide you on this topic.
Sure. No problem. We are in touch with Adesh and all. I'll connect again with you all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
Sagarji, can we go to second topic, or maybe questions we can take on email? How much time left, sir? You are looking at the watch.
सागर जी अनम्यूट करो अपने आप को। सागर जी आप म्यूट पे हो।
Sir, unmute karo.
Hello. How much time it is going to take, Mr. Dattarai, for second topic? Actually, we
Second
have
topic.
allotted only 1 hour for 45 minutes of presentation and 15 minutes for question and answers.
So another half an hour for wetting and dispersing additives. Minimum. Because if you want to do it fast, then we cannot justify the topic, sir.
Okay.
Or maybe we can take then next time as per your suggestion.
Okay, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Abhijit, is Adesh online?
No, he is not online.
You can
So
take it, the topic.
I will do that.
Yeah. Okay, please. So Adesh has a difficulty in connecting. So my colleague Abhijit will take over for wetting and dispersing additive. Over to Abhijit, please.
Okay, Mr. Vijit, welcome.
Abhijit is presenting, na?
Yeah.
Yes, Abhijit presenting.
Abhijit is presenting, na? But the only thing I request that let it be done in a time frame, because it is okay. A request.
Okay,
This is an
sir.
interesting topic. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Datta. Thank you, Sagarji. So as Virat Kohli is not fit, his deputy is in front of you. So I will try to give full justice to the topic of wetting and dispersing additives. And I will see to it that I finish it as early as possible without compromising on the quality. So let us see. So this we already have covered. So everybody is on mute. Questions will be taken at the last and ideally through mails in the interest of time. Okay. So this will be the flow of content which we will just run through. Now first we will see the basic information. So when we talk about wetting and dispersing, we always talk about wetting and dispersing of powders and pigments. So when we say powders in paint industry, we basically talk about oxides or blacks or organic pigments. And if you see from this table, the particle size is getting reduced as we come from top to bottom. So in case of iron oxide, it is 0.25 micrometers, while in case of carbon black, it is just 0.013 micrometers. So what happens due to this? As we go on decreasing the particle size, the cohesive forces goes on increasing. So from iron oxide to carbon black, the cohesive forces are really becoming very, very strong. And surface area also, you see, smaller the particle size, higher is the surface area. So in case of carbon black, surface area is 550 meters square per gram, while in case of iron oxide, it is just 12 meters square per gram. So all this has the implication in terms of additive selection, additive dosage. So this is the basic of which I thought to share with you. So when we get any pigment, we basically get it in dry form, and those pigments are never in the primary particle form. Those are always in agglomerates. Then we apply grinding forces, mechanical forces to separate the primary particles. Now, our responsibility or our aim is to keep these primary particles in ideal dispersion form, to keep it separate. If we are not able to keep it separate, then over the period, they tend to again go back to their low energy form and they flocculate, and which we don't want. We want them to be in a stabilized form, which is on the right hand side of the image. Okay, so if the particles are separated and again they go back to the flocculated state, then you tend to lose the clarity, gloss, etc., which nobody wants. What do we get out of the proper dispersion? First is the color strength. We also get a better hiding power, and in case of transparent system, we get better transparency. So these are the basic intentions of the ideal dispersion of any pigment, be it organic, inorganic, carbon black. So in case of wetting and dispersing process, first step is wetting, followed by dispersion, and third is the stabilization. So wetting is nothing but we are adding a pigment to binder or solvent composition, and then we want that powder to go into the liquid easily. However, depending upon the pigment type or powder type, some powders like organic pigments, those are being non-polar, very difficult to go into powder. So unless we use proper wetting additive, they will be very resistant to go into the system. This is just the video to highlight or showcase you what is the importance of proper wetting additive.
Are we disconnected?
अभिजीत डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया क्या?
I think Abhijit is disconnected. Others are there.
So, Abhijit, please.
Let's wait for him to reconnect.
I think it is.
இல்ல அது கூட இப்போ
we don't need to pay actually. We technically don't need to pay, but because we are already having labor problems, we need no one is bringing anything, no? Okay.
பொண்ணுமா
காடை போட்டுருங்க. காடை வேற
Sorry team, the electricity went off here suddenly, so sorry for the inconvenience. So I am back again, and I will, if everybody is ready, I can start sharing the presentation. So sorry.
Sure.
Guys from your team?
Sagar,
Hello.
No, Sagarji, somehow I cannot share the screen.
Yeah, Mugan guys from your screen. Just hold for a moment.
Yeah.
Now you can go ahead, please. Abhijit ji,
Okay,
please
just
go
a
ahead.
minute. Yeah, just a minute. Huh? Where is my present?
सागर जी सबको म्यूट करिए.
एक एक करके कर रहा हूँ भाई साहब.
I hope now you are able to see the right slide.
Yes.
Okay, apology once again for sudden electricity breakdown.
No problem.
Okay, so we saw the weighting and importance of weighting additive. Then comes the dispersion. Now dispersion doesn't involve any additive, so please keep that in mind. So dispersion involves only the mechanical force. So it could be your attractor, it could be your high-speed disperser, anything. So using mechanical force, we are trying to break down the agglomerates into individual primary particles. The role of the additive comes in the next step, in the stabilization. So whatever particles we have separated, now our duty is to keep them separated throughout the life of the paint. Okay, so that is where the role of additive comes into picture. And if we are not able to do that, what happens after some time, the particles will flocculate again, and you will see on the left hand side, you see a very dirty picture of flocculated system. Whereas on the right hand side, you see very good deflocculated system. So remember, dispersion involves mechanical forces, and additive plays a role in case of just this stabilization to keep the primary particles separated throughout the lifetime of paint. There are three different stabilization mechanisms depending upon what systems you are working on. So when we talk about mainly waterborne system, we talk about electrostatic stabilization. So there is always a interaction between the charges. When we talk about the solvent-based system, we talk about pigment affinic groups, and at the same time we talk about the binder compatible chains. So those binder compatible chains, they kind of have the static hindrance between each other, and because of that static hindrance, two pigment particles are kept away from each other in the paint system. The third category is a combination of electrostatic and the steric stabilization, hence the name electrosteric stabilization. So it's a combination of electrostatic as well as steric stabilization. And the typical example of this particular class of additive is Disperbic 199, which is a weighting as well as dispersing additive for water-based systems. Another stabilization mechanism could be acid-base interaction. Typically, most of the organic pigments are acid treated. So when
sorry to interrupt you, your voice is not clear. Please check.
Hello.
Abhijit, now it is clear. Please put your
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. So in case of pigments which are say acid treated, so then you need to use additives which have the aminic groups on them. So there is an acid-base interaction, and you get the fully stable system. Another example is the hydrophobic pigment affinic group. So here you have the organic pigment, for example, which is hydrophobic, and then pigment affinic group will stick to it, and you have then on the right hand side resin compatible side chains. So they will then give the compatibility to your binder systems. Oops, sorry. I will go back one step. Okay. So these are the different stabilization mechanisms. On the left hand side is the flocculation, which we do not want, because separated particles, if they come back, then they will form flocculation, and settling, gloss reduction, etc. The problem takes place. On the extreme right hand side is the schematic representation of the deflocculated system. So each and every pigment particle is kept well separated. Okay, which is the ideal case to get stable system with good gloss. Okay, in between, you will see another schematic representation wherein you have the controlled flocculation. So it is not fully deflocculated system, but in the group of say 3 or 4 different pigment particles, the additive forms a kind of network, okay, in the controlled fashion. How does this help? This helps in the form of and better anti-settling properties, and you then do not end up with a system with heavy settling. However, there could be one drawback in this particular system, that because of this controlled flocculation, you might end up with losing gloss to minute extent, which more probably we will see in the next slides. So remember, deflocculation system extreme right is the ideal system for glossy system. In between, you have controlled flocculation for better anti-settling properties. Now we will see maybe in detail, more detail, control flocculation. So control flocculation system, you get a relatively thixotropic flow behavior, very good for anti-settling and anti-sagging properties, because the additive forms a kind of network with the pigment particles in a controlled fashion. Limitation, as I already mentioned, you might see some gloss reduction, and because of this particular kind of drawback, it is recommended not for the top coat but for primers or backcoat systems, or maybe high film build systems where you require anti-sagging properties. On the right hand side, you will see these 2 cylinders. Okay, in that,
sir, your voice is not clear.
Your voice is breaking, sir.
I believe you are using a wireless headphone.
Yeah, I think so.
I am using the hands-free. Unfortunately, there could be a problem of network, because I said electricity has gone and I am connecting through the hotspot now.
Oh, okay.
So that could be the reason, but I will try to speak slightly slowly.
But now your voice is clear.
But now your voice is okay, Abhijit. How is it possible that whenever we are asking you to make your voice proper, then only your voice it's coming right?
Okay, so
Otherwise, it's completely disturbed.
What change I made earlier, since there was a complaint, I took that mic close to my lips, but now I have released it and now it is free. So if this is okay, I will keep it like this. Is it okay, sir?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So sorry for this disturbance. Okay, so in these 2 vials or cylinders, on left hand side you will see this severe settling, and on right hand side of the cylinder you will see the control flocculation mechanism, and because of that there is hardly any settling or separation. Also, the anti-sagging properties are very good. So using control flocculating mechanism, if you use it for primers or backcoat systems, you can expect a system with better anti-settling properties and anti-sagging effect. Next is the deflocculating system, which is giving us Newtonian flow behavior, because in this each and every pigment particle is separated and you get very good flow. It also helps in getting very good gloss system and color stability. Limitation is, of course, because each and every pigment particle is separated, and if you use inorganic pigments especially, which are relatively heavy, then you might end up getting anti-settling. However, there is nothing to worry about this. In such cases, you have to use right type of rheology additive to take care of your settling properties. But these are the additives which are very good for flow and leveling and very good gloss. Hence, recommended for top coats. If customer wants to use it for base coat, they are free to use that with proper rheology additive, and they are also very good for pigment concentrates, because of this you will be able to add more and more pigments and make pigment rich concentrates. What are the different test methods people are using in case of wetting and dispersing additive? First could be the Hegman gauge. However, Hegman gauge has limitation in the sense that it only gives you the fineness of grind. However, it doesn't talk to you about the full utilization of pigment particle, or have you reached to the primary particle level. So this is not really recommended to check the quality of wetting and dispersing additive. Next best could be the white reduction. You prepare the pigment concentrate and add it in your white base. So if after rub up, if there is a difference between rubbed and unrubbed portion, that is a clear indication that your system is not properly dispersed. However, if there is no difference in rubbed and unrubbed portion, you can very well say that yes, this is the system with proper dispersion. Third test method is the color shift or the color shift. So in this particular system, which we will probably see in the next slide in a better way, but this is another method. And you can also see under the microscope, electron microscope, and see the extent of dispersion. But in practice, this is not really used to a large scale for paint industries. So I will explain more about this color shift. So in case of this color shoe.
Abhijit, again your voice is breaking.
Oh my God! Now.
Yes.
I have not made any changes, but
when we are going a little slow, it's more clear.
Okay. Got it. So my speed needs to be slightly slower, maybe 80% of my earlier speed.
Abhijit, if problem happens again, then I can also take Aura as per your wish.
Okay, no problem. Datta will try one more time. And if network issue continues or mic issue continues, you can take over.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, you always have to remember, if you are using yellow pigment, then comparing two different wetting and dispersing additives, you always need to check the undertone. In case of yellow, out of two paints, if one is giving more greener undertone, then that is the indication that that system is better dispersed than the other system. In case of blue, if your paint system sample number 1 is say giving more of red undertone, that is the indication that that system is better than the other system. So you always have to go anti-clockwise in this particular color shoe. Always check for undertone when you are comparing two different paints using two different additives, because sometimes you may be having 4 different wetting dispersing additives and you are not sure which particular system is fit for your usage. In that case, you need to compare the undertone and always go for anti-clockwise direction. So yellow has to be more greenish, green has to be more bluish, blue has to be more reddish, and red has to be more yellowish. And that is the case in this particular slide. You are seeing red pigment, red paint, but right hand side one is the better dispersed than the left hand side. What happens in case of black? Because that is not covered in your earlier color shift diagram. So in case of black, if you are looking for transparency, then your undertone has to be brownish. In case of opaque system, undertone is ideally should be bluish for the deflocculated system, well dispersed system. In case of white reduction, if you are using pigment concentrate black and you are adding it into say white, then your undertone should be brownish. So just remember this picture, and depending upon your application, whether it is opaque system, whether it is a transparent system, you have to check for brown undertone or blue undertone depending upon your system. Then we see the overview. So there are thousands of wetting dispersing additives available in the market, and those are varying in molecular weight. Low molecular weight wetting and dispersing additives are typically used for inorganic pigments, because inorganic pigments, as we earlier saw in this slide, they are relatively low in the surface area, relatively polar in surface, coarser in particles. So those are relatively easy to disperse, and you don't really need very high molecular system to disperse such inorganic pigments. However, if you have some organic pigments, which are typically very non-polar pigments, very fine particles, which we saw in the earlier slide, they also have very large surface area. Because of the fine particle size, we also saw the cohesive forces are increasing. So two particles are sticking to each other strongly, than that is the case with inorganic pigments or extenders. So in such systems, you need to go for different wetting dispersing additive, which is maybe high molecular weight system. So in case of organic pigments, you cannot use the same additive which you are using for inorganic pigments. Depending upon, again, different types of surface treatment, you may have to use acidic wetting dispersing additives, or basic, or neutralize, or neutral. So there are different chemistries available. And also in case of high molecular weight wetting dispersing additives, depending upon what type of systems you are using, the side chains have to be compatible with your system, because pigment affinity group is one part. But if your additive is not compatible, or the side chains are not compatible with your binder system, then however good that additive may be, that will not work in a system. So depending upon that, you have different resin compatible side chains. It could be polyacrylate, polyurethane, polyether, polyester, etc. So this is I understand this is a very big list of wetting and dispersing additives, but this is just to give you the product overview. Depending upon fatty acid chemistry, we have various additives. There are phosphoric acid ester based additives, PU based additives, so on and so forth. To help you to understand this in better, we have also gave the different color codes, and maybe later on when you have any specific requirement, you can get in touch with us and we can give you what is the right additive, which are the right additives we can go ahead to evaluate first. There is also another chart to show you, depending upon polarity, which type of additives can be of your interest. So for non-polar systems to polar systems, you have the x-axis at the bottom. Non-polar system talks about long oil alkyd, then you go for thermoplastic acrylates, polyester melamine systems, then 2-pack PU, and then 2-pack epoxy, etc. So depending upon what system is, what is the polarity, we can recommend you the right additive selection. For TiO2, again, we have various options. For non-polar systems, for solvent-based, Disperbic 108 is our industry standard. For acid or neutral surface treated TiO2, if your TiO2 is basic with basic surface treatment, then Disperbic 110 is our industry standard. So these are the various options available for you to select the right additive. Then for waterborne system, again, we have various range. It could be for PU, it could be for pigment concentrates. Typically in the pink, those are highlighted in pink, are for pigment concentrates. So I will not spend much time on it because that will only confuse you to some extent. So wetting and dispersing additive selection. So when you go for additive selection, you first need to check your application. What is your application? Whether it is automotive or it is decorative, because depending upon the application, the performance criteria will vary, and then we can select the additives. What is the polarity of the system? Whether it is water-based system, whether it is solvent-based system, within solvent-based system, whether it is epoxy or alkyd-based system or melamine or PU. So far and so forth, then we come from say 100 additives, then we get down to say 10 additives only, and from 10 additives then we can have the better selection. Compatibility test, I made a mention of this earlier, because first and foremost thing you should do in case of selection of wetting and dispersing additive is to first check the compatibility. So before even going for the final paint preparation, this basic test is must. Just take if you have 4 different wetting and dispersing additives to evaluate, take those wetting and dispersing additives, add individually into your binder and solvent system in which your final paint is going to be prepared. So just take 20 ml of binder and solvent system, add 5% of say wetting and dispersing additive and mix it. After mixing, just spatula mixing is good enough. After mixing, if clarity is remaining as it is, then yes, you can take that particular additive for further evaluation. If clarity is hampered, if you get lot of haziness, that is a clear indication that there is no point in taking that particular additive for further evaluation, and that will save lot of time and energy of you. And whichever additives are giving good clarity, those additives you can take for further evaluation. Third is the type of coating, whether it is primer or top coat or base coat. Because earlier we saw for top coats, you need not really go for deep flocculating systems. In fact, for primers, it is better to go for controlled flocculating, wetting and dispersing additives. Because as such for primer, we do not need very high gloss. Also, primers are typically very heavily filled system. So you need better anti-settling properties. So for such systems, it is always good to go for controlled flocculating systems. Anti-terra, our additives with the name anti-terra, that means against the earth. So these are the additives which are typical of this controlled flocculating mechanism, and they help you in better anti-settling properties and better rheology. So this is just the example we saw earlier as well. Just the comparison of primer and the top coat. On left hand side, you have the controlled flocculating mechanism, and on the right hand side, you see very good glossy surface because of deflocculating, wetting and dispersing additive, which gives high gloss, low haze, low viscosity and Newtonian flow behavior. Then what is a pigment? So depending upon the pigment type, whether it is inorganic or organic, what is the surface area? Because depending upon pigment, your surface area is going to change drastically. So typical surface treatments are given here. We will just skip. And then again, what is the grinding method? Whether it is a co-grind or single grind, whether it is with resin or without resin, then you have different possible options. I will, okay. So if you have the co-grind, how to calculate the wetting and dispersing additive? So if you have this particular system, polyester resin and different types of pigment, basically carbon black, and then you have to calculate the additives individually for and carbon black.
Sir, not able to hear you.
Hello, Abhijit, आवाज वापस जा रहा है.
Datta, can you take over then?
Yeah. Okay, I can.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, please repeat this slide.
Yeah, when we go for co-grinding formulations or direct grind, then we use a different kind of pigments, and each pigment has a different surface area and different particle size and different surface treatment also. So every pigment has a different additive requirement, and hence we have to see which pigment requires what kind of pigment additive is required to get perfect dispersion and stable dispersion. So accordingly, you have to calculate the dosage level based on the type of pigment and percentage of pigment you are using in your formula. Yeah, next slide please. Abhijit, next please. So important is are you doing with or without grinding, without resin? So sometimes people, for pigment concentrate, people go for pigment dispersion only in solvent or only in, and sometimes we have to do it in a resin grinding. So it also helps us which additive I should use for pigment dispersion when we are grinding with resin and without resin. So pigment grind without resin are more commonly used in watermark coatings. Next please. So another criteria is we have to see the pigment to binder ratio also. This is also very important. So coarser is the pigment binder ratio is quite high, and when you go to finer size, pigment binder ratio goes more or less equal. Like in case of fine carbon black, pigment to binder ratio is 1.1:4 or 1:1.5. So resin content is going increasing. When in case of titanium and iron oxides, always pigment content is very high compared to the binder. So it also plays a very important role. That means depends on the pigment selection. You have to see the pigment to binder ratio. It always on a solid resin. in mind, always to be done on solid resin basis.
Go to his place and pick it up. चलो तू चेंबूर में जा बड़ा और लेके आया.
And when most of the customer asks what is the standard dosage level of additives to be used for pigments, like for extenders, always 0.2 to 1% is more than sufficient. On total extender is dosage of additives based on pigment. In case of titanium dioxide, roughly 1 to 2% is there. For inorganic pigments, 4 to 10%. For organic pigments like phthalo green, phthalo blue, quinacridone red, we have to go for 35% of additive dosage based on pigmentation. And in case of carbon black, which is very difficult to grind, like Raven Ultra 5000 or carbon black Abdul 200, from 25 to up to 80% depends on the black you are using the formula. Like if you are going for a high jet black top coat black, then probably you have to go up to 80% of the additive requirement for your pigment. Then only you can get a better jetness out of that very costly pigment. So it always depends. This is a thumb rule. You can always play a little bit higher and lower, but as an indication or as a guideline, you can always stick to this recommended dosage level of a additive for different pigments. Next slide, please. Then you have to see what is the dosage level depends on viscosity and color strength. So you have to do a ladder of series and then get a optimum dosage level where you can get a better viscosity, good color strength and transparency in case of every pigment. Next slide, please. So this is a graphical representation again. Next, please. Yeah, again a theoretical background. So which kind of additive you are using. So at very low dosage, maybe additive pigment are getting attracted to each other, and when you increase the dosage level, they are repulsing to each other, and you get a perfect dispersion. But if you still add more additive, then probably it will give a micelle formulation, and you won't get any additional benefit out of that. So you have to do a really ladder study to get the exact stable pigments dispersed in your resin or in your binder media. Next slide, please. And this is the additive dosage level, yeah, for onto phthalocyanine pigment. So how to do it? So you can do the ladder series of 10%, 20%, and what is suitable for you, you can make your own judgment. Next slide, please.
Dr. Sir, please complete your presentation in next 5 minutes. So
yeah, Sagarji.
Question answer session.
Yeah, last 2 slides only. Yeah.
Last 2 slides. Next, please.
Okay.
So here you can say by increasing 30 to 40%, you are not getting any advantage. So best is you have to stick to 20 to 30%. Next, please. So just to summarize, basically wetting and dispersing additives is to get a perfect stabilize your pigment particles in a resin system. Wetting and dispersing additive provide different stabilization processes like electrostatic repulsion, steric hindrance, or electrostatic stabilization. Then wetting and dispersing additive can be used for can be known as a deflocculating, used for top coats mainly, and control flocculating additives used for primers or high field top coats in heavy duty coatings where you need a dispersion along with anti-settling, and in case of deflocculating you need a better gloss, perfect dispersion, image clarity. So those are required for medium solid top coat systems. And BYK offers tailor-made products for all kind of solutions like solvent bond system, solvent free system, water bind, and all types of organic inorganic pigments as well as aluminum pigments or effect pigments. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for kind listening, and sorry we have to switch speaker 1, speaker 2, and speaker 3, but there are technical challenges and we have to adjust ourselves for that. Thank you. Once again, apologies for the
Abhijit, can I ask a question from you?
Yeah.
Hello.
Question answer.
Abhijit, please.
Yeah. Abhijit, I'm Deepak Maheshwari from Deva Paints, Ghaziabad. I'm asking just to, can you please tell me something about the incorporation of your additives into the system, in the grinding system, when it should be applied and how to apply?
So sir, if I have got the answer correct, when the additive should be added in your grinding system?
Exactly.
Okay. So typically, additive has to be added prior to your addition of pigment. So take your binder, solvent, whatever your basic liquid portion is, add your additive, assuming that you already have check the compatibility test, which we already discussed just a while ago. So if that is done, then add the additive in your solvent and binder system, mix it, and then add pigment. Also, I would like to add one more thing. When you are adding any pigment, and if you have 3 different pigments, always add that pigment first whose hunger is more. Okay, so in case of combination of organic inorganic pigment, now the hunger of organic pigment is more because surface area is more, so that additive, that pigment needs more additive. Hence, in that case, organic pigment has to be added first, followed by, say, inorganic pigment or extender. So this is very, very important, or such small changes can also be very important to have better system. So I hope I have answered to your question, sir.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Any other question?
Our email addresses remain the same as per earlier presentation. So
Yeah. Harishji, you want to ask some question?
No, it's fine. No problem.
Okay.
Abhijit, nice listening to you after a long time. Jaiswal here.
Thank you, doctor. How are you? Nice to see you.
Fine. Yeah. Bye.
So now, if any question is there, so I conclude the session. Okay. So today, thank you very much, Mr. Abhijit and Datta Saab, for such a wonderful information on wetting and dispersing additives.
Thank you everyone for hosting this kind of webinar, and again, please stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's our pleasure to present our technical part to all the IPCA community and our paint industry partners. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Sagarji. Thank you, Mahadevanji. Thank you, Ashwini ji.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mahadevanji.
everybody. Stay safe.
So today,
Bye.